Another thing that kind of like annoyed me because it's a pet peeve of mine is that he was using all these philosophers' names and these
Yes.
fancy philosophical terms, even though like I'm not I don't have a degree in philosophy like you, but I read lots of philosophy books and watch podcasts about it and do podcasts about it and make videos about it and stuff, and I can tell he doesn't fucking understand like Hegel's phenomenology of spirit, and he was like, "Oh, so you're a Hobbesian in terms of human nature."
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and I've got to admit, this was kind of the secondary agenda for the debate. That since I've been seeing him do that stuff for a long time, like even back on the Michael Brooks show, I remember watch like a clip of him talking about Plato and Aristotle, and it was just it was pretty strange, and so it's been clear for a while this is something that he really likes to do. He really wants to, like, this sort of, I guess it's like not an uncommon strategy for conservatives, but like it's a particularly extreme.
Like how Ben Shapiro is the cool kids philosopher.
No, that's right. I was actually just looking back at Ben's book, The Right Side of History: How Reason and Moral Purpose Made the West Great, which unfortunately I have read, and looking at some of the stuff they says about philosophy in that book, which is very Kirk-like in some ways, but yeah, no, totally right. I think Ben Shapiro does this stuff. Kirk does a lot, and Kirk probably does it in a clumsier way, but like there's a certain kind of conservative, often young conservative, who really wants to like. They really want to be like a great books guy, that he's gonna like drop all these like references, Plato and Aristotle and Locke and Rousseau and Hegel and all this stuff, to sort of give this veneer of like intellectual sophistication to what he's doing, and he also does these things where he's like he'll have these like memorized phrases of from like whatever, the Federalist Papers or Thomas Jefferson or something, and like and he's got like and he does like there's something in particular that I noticed him doing, because obviously in prepping for this I watched like a few of his old debates, and there were like basically every time he's arguing with somebody and they say something about the social contract, he always says, there is no social contract, our rights come from God. and I really wanted to, I was really hoping that he would just do that at some point over the course of the debate. So I could like push him on that, like what that means. But he didn't. So like, I just kind of had to wedge it in at the end, it's like, hey, I have a question, something I was really, really curious about, because I've seen you say this a couple times, I was hoping it'd just come up organically. But yeah, like, it's so weird. Like last time we were talking about James Lindsay, and I think maybe Lindsay is like partially responsible for this, because like conservatives,
the young Hegelian thing about Marx.
Yeah. that like this is a weird thing. Like I do not remember conservatives being this obsessed with Hegel 5 years ago. This seems new, and it's weird because it's like they've decided, like Kirk kept bringing up Hegel, like even earlier, but like then like we got like it came up a lot, like in a big way at like the sort of beginning of the second half when he he asked me about Marx, and I kind of said, well, okay, obviously, I'm not going to just like dogmatically say that Marx didn't get anything wrong. There's nothing that needs to be revised, but I positive view, and I started to say I think the theory of history is basically right. His like face lit up. I was like, all right, well, you got something to say, right? What's let's have it. He's like, oh well, the theory of history. So basically, you mean Hegel, right? It's no. But
that's like that's the exact part of Hegel that Marx turned down its head that he liked the least, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly, right. I mean, like that like, I mean, he starts out as a Hegelian, but like that's exactly in going from being a Hegelian to being a Marxist, right? I mean, that's what Marx is reacting against, is the idealist theory of history, and it turned out to have the materialist theory of history. So like that's weird in itself. Like it's because like this is not exactly a deep cut, right? I mean, this is something that I think like the first like page of the Wikipedia entry, like like you should I hope right get out of that, right? That like Hegel's an idealist, Marx is a materialist, but also I mean, I guess the other thing that seems bizarre about it to me is that like the own seems like it's the opposite direction from what you think it would be. Like, because if anything, you'd think that from a conservative perspective, it would be like Hegel's bad because he led to Marx, not like Marx is bad because because it's really just this evil Hegelianism. Like that's so weird to me. And this is again, I don't know if this is James Lindsay's doing or what it is, but yeah, the fact that somebody like Charlie Kirk has this obsession now with Hegel of all like as the root of all evil is just really strange to me.
Yeah, I feel like he got that from James Lindsay because he's the one who's been demonizing him the most lately, I would say.
Yeah.
James Lindsay should debate Slavoj Žižek about Hegel. That would be epic.
Yeah, no, that would be fun. By the way, I should say, let me see if I can find this now. Yeah, here we go. Lindsay is getting here. Let me put it. I put it a tweet in the private chat. This is something he tweeted last night. He's getting stranger.
Let me just load this here. So in his Twitter profile, it says not New York Times bestselling author. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Among their, actually, I think I can probably screen share this.
Yeah.
Do that. Okay, there we go. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, now I do. Yep.
Okay. Among their objectives, destabilize the U.S. enough to say that we're too out of control not to be managed by world government, using our nuclear arsenal as the excuse. What? Too dangerous in a volatile nation undergoing so much tumult or national divorce. Peacekeeping forces step in. I don't even understand what he's saying. This seems really incoherent to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like, this is like something that like some Michigan militia guy had like a shortwave radio, broadcast in like 1995 would have been ranting about like the New World Order and the black helicopters. And
black helicopters.
And it's like almost getting to the point where I feel bad making fun of him because this like is starting to feel like mental illness, but like also like this is a super influential guy on the right now. I mean, he's been on Fox News a ton.
Is this more of the Sovietization of America from the critical race theorists? Like, well, yeah, but they want to let off a nuclear bomb on America or something. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because it's like I've heard Lindsay say things that would suggest that, like, oh, all that like Sovietization stuff, he has this mode where he'll sort of make it sound like that's just a metaphor, and like that's just like his like cranky way of saying that, like, I don't know, elites are unaccountable or something like that. But like then he tweets shit like this. It's okay. Like this just seems to be this literal, like, extremely deranged conspiracy theory stuff. And it's like, this guy has testified before like legislative committees and stuff. Like there are laws that have been passed, about what you can and can't teach in schools that are partially based on what he's recommended. And this is, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like if he's gone this far off the deep end, that should get a little bit more attention.
And I'm sure you're just as aware as I am of videos that people have made making fun of people who are mad about critical race theory but can't define it. They don't even use like James Lindsay's description of it. It's because I just don't understand. Like it seems like he's kind of like cherry picking the most extreme fringe versions of everything and then combining them all together like it's this massive evil coherent ideology that's going to turn America into communist Russia.
No, I think that's exactly what he's doing. I mean, like, because it's so. I mean, I guess that's part of what makes it, like effective as a bogeyman, because it's such a moving target, right? Like, what are we talking about here? Is it like actual critical race theory, like Derek Bell and Kimberly Crenshaw? Is it like anything that's is it like anything that feels too social justicey that like makes it into schools? Is it like even just like any kind of like anything that's taught in schools that like makes America look bad, right? And it seems like depending on who's talking and when, it could be all three. And like, I mean, if it's the second thing, it's not that they can't come up with some like crazy, cringy examples. They certainly can. It's just that like the connection between these things is really unclear, and it's such a like crazy, heavy-handed response to say like, here's the we're gonna like pass a new law and say that if like you reference any of the following like 20 concepts in class, you can get fired. Like you can just look. I mean, if there are people, if there are cases where like, I don't know, a lot of the things they point to are actually literally not in classrooms. They're in like some like teacher training presentation or things like that. But like, I mean, some of the individual things they mention, it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, if you could find that, in a classroom, and I'm sure you can somewhere, right? Like a little bit, right? Like then, like I'm against it, but like it just, this is just such a disproportionate panic, for that. It's like, I mean, it just feels to, I don't know. I mean, it just feels to me like
I had basically a kind of, you could call it a wokeness indoctrination class in one of my small local college classes. It was my teacher it was supposedly social studies, but I went into it because I thought, this sounds like the social justice activism indoctrination stuff, but I want to see if they know what they're talking about. And it didn't seem like they did. Like their every day was, okay, we're going to talk about the importance of racism, and we're also going to talk about Marxism, and we're going to talk about fat phobia and sexism and discrimination every single day, which doesn't really seem like that's all that sociology is. But it's not like, it wasn't this coherent ideology of let's take all of these really specific tenets rather, and everyone across the board agrees on all of this stuff, and we have the same agenda, bro, and we want to destroy America.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, like I get like, I mean, this is like a college class you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, right? I mean, I think
I don't think it's happening really, like you were saying. I don't really think it's really happening in like elementary schools or high schools or things. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, again, if like a lot of times when pressed, what they'll say is like, okay, strictly speaking, it's not critical race theory, but there's stuff that's like somewhat influenced by critical race theory or that reminds us of critical race theory that's like filtered down to like some sort of K-12 classroom somewhere. And I guess just like, I don't know, maybe a little, but like we want to take that case by case. And also, I don't know. I mean, I think that like if you want to know like what may, by the time they actually get around to like writing laws about it, like there'll be this like huge sweeping things about like he'll practically say like, you can't teach American history in ways that make us feel bad, like
yeah. Like,
it's,
especially if that sort of thing is coming from Ben Shapiro, it's like, what happened to facts don't care about your feelings? It makes you feel uncomfortable.
no, exactly. And I think that I think high school, like I don't know, like I would trust, like some high school teachers, are just crazy, and and they'll have weird like obsessions, and those will like come out of class. I'm certainly I can remember some of that, but like,
Yeah.
but overall, right? I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just like I guess I just trust a history teacher. Like I just trust any random history teacher to know what makes a good history class more than I would trust like like some like state like some like state of Arizona or whatever level bureaucrat who's like charged with like making sure that none of the makes America look bad stuff has made it in there, and it just seems like all I can think is like this just again, can you find ways like like cherry picked examples of things that like really are like cringy or excessive or just like generally bad, right? That made the classroom somewhere, sure, but like overall, this stuff always just makes me think of like, how is this different? Like it just feels like some like 19, I don't know, like PTA meeting in 1975 where there's like a church lady screaming about how Led Zeppelin records, played backwards have, messages about Satan in them, like it just doesn't feel that different from that to me.
Yeah. Or, just say no to drugs. And we're going to put these parental advisory explicit lyrics warnings on all the music now.
No, that's the thing. I mean, it just seems
that's like that was like trigger warnings before they were called trigger warnings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting too, because like Tipper Gore was like she's a Democrat, and like some of what she's objected to was about sexism, and but like also it was like definitely in alliance with a kind of like like there was a lot of that stuff was supposed to appeal to like evangelical parents who like don't want their kids to be exposed to the existence of sex.
Yeah, definitely. Gotta just say no to sex too. Say no to sex and drugs. And if you're a teenager, don't have any fun, which de facto kind of means that you will have fun anyway, but you'll probably do something stupid because you don't know what you're fucking doing.
Yeah, no, exactly.